What is happening? Fox News foreign policy correspondent Trey Ings joining us live from Tel Aviv to talk about the real swing state voters. Let's move back. Harris, Wallace, and campaign surrogates hit battleground states with a unity message for voters.
In Pennsylvania today after a Sunday spent in Michigan visiting a church and a barbershop and urging young people to vote at Michigan State University. Nancy Cordes is in Detroit. Nancy, good morning.
Implying mothers are married. Their marital status doesn't matter, dumbass. The fuck are you talking about? Like, oh my God. Not all mothers who are getting an abortion are married. What the point does that make? What difference does that make, dude? Married or not married, it doesn't matter. The conversation is about women's bodily autonomy, a medical procedure that should be readily fucking available for all people unconditionally. The abortion restrictions are just as stupid as someone deciding that they don't like insulin, that diabetics should fucking die, and that they shouldn't be able to get insulin because of decisions they made in their personal lives because they fucking ate too many chocolates or whatever. That would be insane. Except it's perfectly permissible and valid when Republicans make that exact same argument for abortion. You said wedlock. Okay, it doesn't matter. Married or not.
Good morning, Nate. Vice President Harris has been calling former President Trump out about his unfounded claims of voter fraud. She says he's signaling to voters that their votes won't count and urging her supporters not to fall for it. Her campaign is trying to strike a delicate balance right now, signaling optimism because that's contagious, but not so much that any of their voters.
Oh my God, come on. Type 1 diabetics need insulin and it's genetic. Type 2 is the one that's usually caused by being overweight. Okay, so what? Exactly. Just like almost all of the abortions that are conducted are still happening in the first trimester, 80% plus. But it doesn't stop people from literally trying to shut that medical procedure off as well. Plenty of abortions are being done because of the direct, not just the viability of the fetus, but directly, like virtually almost every single, I think literally every single abortion that happens in the third trimester is done because of either the viability of the fetus or the life of the carrier. There is some kind of impact that is occurring to the carrier. That's why this process that is incredibly invasive is allowed, okay? Putting any sort of restrictions on third trimester abortions ultimately is just as stupid as saying, nah, I'm not going to do insulin. And then you trying to say, oh, I don't get it. Type 1 diabetics do need insulin, though, to survive. Also, type 2 diabetics need insulin to survive as well. It doesn't matter if it's being caused by being overweight. What kind of stupid argument is this? You can't just be like, oh, I'm sorry, fat people deserve to die. That's not a position that you can say, especially in a country where 60% of the population is obese. Holy shit. The reason why I use diabetes is for that purpose. There's a lot of people who love fat shaming people and a lot of people who think that fat people deserve to fucking die. So that's why I use diabetics as a reason. Because dumbasses like you will eat the bait and immediately be like, well, type 2 diabetes is because people are fat. Okay, so should they die? What kind of fucking argument is this?
Get complacent a day before Election Day.
We have momentum. It is on our side. Can you feel it?
A confident-sounding Harris on the campaign trail Sunday.
How are you guys doing? How's your family?
Crisscrossing Michigan as her running mate hit North Carolina and Georgia.
If you want to get rid of the anxiety, go vote. Go vote.
High-profile surrogates picked up the slack everywhere else.
Hello, Milwaukee!
Harris's closing message is about unity, collaboration, and freedom.
Including the fundamental freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do.
In these final hours, her campaign is counting on a ground game advantage.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your support.
They say their teams knocked on 3 million doors across the battleground states this weekend.
Hi there. My name is Kevin.
Kevin Young is a bus driver from Oregon, volunteering in Georgia.
If I had to guess, probably between 750 and 1,000 doors that I've knocked. And that doesn't count the ones, where people aren't home.
The race was rocked this weekend by a new Des Moines Register poll that has Harris leading in red state Iowa, thanks in part to a 35-point advantage among women over 65. The seniors at her rally in East Lansing, Michigan, were not surprised.
I think it's probably because they remember before Roe.
We grew up in a time when we had a right to choose, and now they just took it away from us. What next right will they take?
Mr. Trump wants to go back. We don't need protection from him. We're perfectly capable human beings.
Some of those supporters you saw in line got there 12 hours before the Harris rally, a packed event inside the MSU Fieldhouse. In fact, all the rallies we've been to in these closing days have been filled to the rafters with supporters cheering for every line, especially anything she has to say about young voters, about health care, and of course, about reproductive rights. Tony.
Nancy, thank you very much.
One day, as you know, to go until the final votes, the candidates making their final pitch to the nation.
Robin, barnstorming through the battleground states over the weekend. Early voting across the country is coming to an end. Over 78 million Americans have already cast their ballots.
Final push for both candidates right now. Vice President Harris focusing on the must-win state of Pennsylvania. Former President Trump hitting 3 states in the final hours: North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Our team is in place across the battlegrounds with the campaigns. Rachel Scott starts us off with the latest on Donald Trump. Good morning, Rachel.
George, good morning. We are finally here. Just one more day to go. Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris delivering 2 vastly different closing arguments. Trump's advisors have spent months trying to get him to focus on the message, immigration, and the economy. But in the final days, the former president only leaning more into violent and dark rhetoric. Overnight, Donald Trump using the final moments of his 2024 campaign to air grievances and push false claims about the 2020 election, insisting he should have never left the White House after he lost.
I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly.
Good luck. That would have been kind of sick, because I think that they would have had to forcibly extract him out of the White House. That would have been sick.
Because we did so well.
At that rally in all-important Pennsylvania, Trump suggesting he wouldn't mind if journalists covering his campaign were shot.
And I have this piece of glass here, but all we have really over here is the fake news. And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news, and I don't mind that so much, because I don't mind.
His campaign telling us Trump was joking, but it's
what the fuck?
The second just days ago saying this about Republican Liz Cheney, who has endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9.
It's just a joking defense. Yeah, he was just joking,
shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. When the guns are trained on her face. They're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington.
I don't know if you answered this already. How do we hold the Democrats accountable if we have to give them our vote? I have mentioned this time and time again. There is no way that you can punish the Democratic Party. They will not learn lessons. The only way that you can technically do this is by continuing to create outside pressure platforms, groups that actually hold material power, including but not limited to labor unions, for example. Okay? That is the only way that you can build up enough political capital that you can genuinely change the Democratic Party's attitude on a lot of these issues. That's it.
Trump's campaign downplayed those comments. The former president.
Yeah, also Democratic primaries for sure. For sure.
President hitting 3 swing states in one day, going from complaining that President Biden is no longer in the race to calling Democrats.
Yeah, it's called organizing, or actually care about politics outside the presidential cycle. Exactly.
This is a group of people, large group of people, larger than people think, but it's a very demonic party. It's become that way. The people aren't. The people, Democrats, regular Democrats aren't. Most of them agree with what I'm saying.
And as he tries to win back Georgia, the former president campaigning with Herschel Walker, the Senate candidate who lost after it was revealed he allegedly paid a woman he had an affair with to have an abortion, something Walker has denied.
We will build all made in the USA, wrapped around our country to defend ourselves and our country. It's all going to be made in the United States, and a lot of it in your great state we'll put Herschel Walker in charge of that little sucker, okay?
In the final stretch, Trump also campaigning alongside Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Kennedy, who has pushed a range of conspiracy theories about vaccines, says Trump promised him he would be in charge of the public health agencies.
Just every aspect of this is so fucked. He's like, I'm going to do all of the bad things. Okay? I'm going to put the anti-medicine guy in charge of medicine. I'm going to put the guy who doesn't know where the fuck he is, who literally lost an election because he kept saying he was a cop when he wasn't a cop, with like incredible CTE damage from a time when they used to have like the pillowy fucking football helmets, in charge of missiles. I don't even know what the fuck what he means by that. It's just like, I don't even know who the fuck this is for, really. Like, good luck.
I want to be in the White House, and he's assured me that I'm going to have that.
Over the weekend, Kennedy saying that on day one, a Trump White House would advise all U.S. water systems to remove fluoride from public water. So the Trump campaign putting out another statement later saying that the former president received a range of policy ideas but remains focused on tomorrow's election. Today, Donald Trump heads to North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, guys.
Okay, Rachel, thanks very much.
Actually be dangerous just to bring them back to their countries. Their countries weren't accepting them back until I came. You know, with Barack Hussein Obama, I call him the Great Divider. He's the great.
Barack Hussein Obama. Remember, his middle name is Hussein. His middle name was Hussein, folks. How do we let that happen? How do we let a Muslim man become the president? How dare they? How dare they? They did it.
And he hit, and Michelle hit me. I was so nice to her. Out of respect, I was so nice. She hit me the other day. I was going to say to my people, am I allowed to hit her now? They said, take it easy, sir. Sir, take it. My geniuses, I'm telling you, they said, just take it easy. Oh, what do you mean? She said bad about me. I can't hit back. Sir, you're winning. Just relax. Is that good advice? Is that good or bad advice? I think it's neutral. You know what the response is there? It's like, nah. What do the ladies from North Carolina think about hit back or just relax? Huh? Oh, they say hit back. You say hit back. I'd actually love to hit back, but we'll hold it a little while. We'll hold it. I'd love to hit back, but no. She took some shots at me the other day. I said, whoa, what have we here? I'd never heard that before. I've always treated her very nicely. But he's the great divider. Barack Hussein Obama, he's a great divider. But he never did. He came out same way for Hillary. How did that work out? Oh.
For more, let's bring in our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl. And you spoke with the former president yesterday, Donald Trump.
I spoke to him early. Voice sounded weary, a little scratchy. He's got this unbelievably packed campaign schedule. But I have to say, although he told me that he thinks he's leading everywhere, by the way, he said he hadn't seen that New York Times Siena polls where it shows him trailing within the margin of error in 4 states. But he did acknowledge to me something I'd never heard him acknowledge before, which is that I asked him, "Is there any way you could lose?" And he said, "Yeah, I guess you could lose. Bad things could happen." The other thing is he took issue with the notion that he's been off message, which some of his top advisors are where he's been all over the map in his speeches, all the negativity, not focusing on the core economic issues that they say he should be focused on. He calls it the weave, and he told me the weave got me elected president, and we saw it continue yesterday.
One thing that's pretty consistent over the last week, John, is we saw Donald Trump's message pretty dark, pretty pessimistic. At least in the last day, Kamala Harris coming out much more hopeful and optimistic. Fundamental tenet of modern American politics, the more hopeful, optimistic candidate wins. If it turns out that Trump pulls this out, it's really testing that.
Yeah, I mean, it tests so much of what we think we know about politics if Trump wins, both that in terms of the ground game. Look, this has been an intensely negative campaign all around. It's the end of democracy versus the end of our country as we know it. But Donald Trump has gone incredibly dark. I mean, even in ways that have frankly shocked me. I mean, when he said yesterday, invoked the idea of shooting through reporters, and he wouldn't mind that. I mean, we've reached a new level.
It really is something. We just heard John say it's not exactly what the campaign wants Donald Trump to be doing, but there is some strategy behind it, trying to drive out angry young men.
Absolutely. And this is where the former president actually has been really focused in the final days with his messaging. He's been appearing on a lot of these podcasts, really trying to energize infrequent voters, young males, to turn out.
Okay. This aspect of the campaign is I mean, this is definitely something that the Trump administration's or the Trump campaign has been doing. One thing that they failed to do so, in my opinion, and we'll see if I was right on this or not, is that the only message that he has presented to these young men is harm reduction, okay? And harm reduction, especially for low propensity voters, is really fucking stupid. It's not enough. It might be enough to secure their loyalty, but it's not enough to secure their vote, okay? You have to give them something. And I don't think he did that. That's why I think a lot of like the Charlie Kirk messaging on the matter has been really fucking stupid. Like, he's like, come on, fellas, we don't want a dumb broad to be the fucking winner of this election, right? Like, I don't think that's enough. I don't think it's enough to drive turnout, okay? How can you be loyal but not vote for him? What do you mean? How can you be loyal but not vote for him? There are a shit ton of Trump supporters in your immediate vicinity. Many of them are probably not going to vote. There are a shit ton of people who say that they're Democrats, who say that they're pro Kamala Harris, and a shit ton of them don't go out and vote. Most people are very apathetic. Just got done voting after sitting in pouring rain, thunderstorm for 6 hours, 47 Fahrenheit weather in the middle of a forest here in the Midwest. For young women, at least harm reduction on a directly consequential piece of Trump's legislative agenda is enough to draw out significant numbers. Okay? For young men, on the other hand, simply saying like, young women are dominating, or Kamala Harris is going to be a dumb broad and she's going to push for the dumb broad vote, or whatever the fuck he says, is not going to be enough. You need to give them something. You need to offer them something. Okay? Like, even saying you were going to lock Hillary Clinton up was a more... Like, it was something that you were offering to people who at least hate Hillary Clinton enough. You know what I mean? My dad is a Trump supporter registered in PA. I can guarantee he will not be bothered to vote. I think that loyalty comes through actions, not words. Okay, let me say, not loyal to Trump. How about I say they're supporters of Trump? Okay? They like that he fucks up the left, or they like that he fucks up the liberals. He triggers the libs. He owns them. The question is that enough for them to get off their asses tomorrow and go out and vote for Donald Trump? I predict probably not. Part of the reason why I say that is because voting still has a shit ton of unnecessary hurdles, especially for young people. You know, if you're on college campus, you might not be able to vote. You might not be able to cast your ballot for back home. You didn't get your shit mailed off. You didn't get your ballot mailed to you. Okay? And this is why I always say harm reduction strategies are not adequate, are outright ineffective in getting people off the seat, off the couch to go out and fucking vote. Okay? You want to know why? Especially for young people? It's because minor inconveniences are enough for someone to say, I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not going to vote. You have to be really passionate and a firmly committed believer that is going to register on time and go out and vote, depending on which state we're talking about. Okay? How does it feel knowing there's at least one Zoomer Groyper voting specifically because Hasan thinks he won't? I mean, sure. Who cares? That's not enough, though. Do you see what I'm saying? Why do you think there historically has been a plurality of people who simply do not vote for either party? One is because of the Electoral College. It makes it so that if you're a Republican in a deep blue state, you're like, why the fuck would I go out and vote? It doesn't matter anyway. It's going to go Democratic regardless. It also causes people who are Democrats in a deep blue state to go, they can win this without me. Okay? So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that there isn't enough interest for a lot of people to go out and vote because they feel like neither party represents their values or neither party is actually going to do anything for them. That's how it works. There are still plenty of hurdles in front of people that want to go out and vote. It's not as simple as a process as you'd think. And this is why you have to make you have to communicate why someone must vote for you. And harm reduction is good for high propensity voters. They're locked in, they're paying attention, they're highly partisan, and they are going and they're turning out for midterms, they're turning out for generals, they're even turning out for the fucking primaries. Okay? But low and mid propensity voters need to be convinced, especially because they demonstrably have either not voted at all or have voted inconsistently. That is Donald Trump's problem.
And get out and vote. You know, George, I was talking to one Republican over the weekend, and they said, and I'll show you where you're concerned about. There is nowhere where Donald Trump is spending more time than North Carolina.
Surprised at that.
Yeah, it's the only battleground state where he is on defense. He won that state in 2020. Of course, you have a Republican gubernatorial candidate there that has been shrouded in controversy. Most of the counties that Donald Trump won in that state are rural counties that have been impacted by Hurricane Helene. I talked to Donald Trump a few days ago. He felt pretty confident about his chances there. But again, 3 stops over the weekend, another stop there today,
and
George.
Of course, we did see that New York Times poll. At least that one had Kamala Harris ahead there. Rachel, thanks very much. Rebecca?
Thank you too, John.
In America, we rise. We rise early. We rise late. We rise to every challenge because freedom demands more than just words. Freedom is the sound of steel striking steel, the hum of factory floors, the buzz of small-town diners opening at dawn. It's knowing that what you build belongs to you, but somewhere along the way, the balance shifted. Politicians started looking out for themselves and billionaires, while working Americans were left to bear the weight. This is where we draw the line, because freedom isn't just for those at the top. It belongs to all of us. We believe in an America where dreams are built on hard work, where you have the opportunity not to just get by, but to get ahead. This is our chance to reclaim the dream, to restore the promise of freedom, not just for some, but for all. Because in America,
So this, this all goes back to the top-down problem of the campaign's lack of hardline positions on certain policies. Imagine an ad like this, but instead specifically cut on, how immigrants are an essential part of this country, that America is great and is the leading nation on the planet because we have opened our doors to the tired, the hungry, the poor that yearn for freedom, and that this is precisely why Kamala Harris is going, and is a snapshot of like fucking United Fruit Workers, you know what I mean, picking avocado, shit like that, and then showcasing all the immigrant people that come from a variety of different backgrounds that work alongside you. Okay. Oh yeah, here, I'll show you a good ad. Thank you, Megaphonics. It's crazy you don't give Trump a chance. Why the fuck would I give Trump a chance when he already had his chance and he fucked it? And also, I was right when I said in 2016 that he would constitute a grave danger to America, which he had too. What the fuck? This ad is not good. I just like Bernie, so I'm responding positively to it. Okay? Yeah, that was kind of my point. Yeah, well, Bernie fucking lost anyway, so I don't... No, Bernie had better policies. Give me a fucking ad. I love this ad too. No, I'm not saying I love this ad. I'm saying this ad sucks. Bernie had policies. You can communicate. When you have better policies, you can communicate.
Real change never takes place from the top on down, but always from the bottom on up.
Bernie Sanders' healthcare for all idea is gaining steam.
Free tuition, free college tuition, free tuition champion, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders added, the greatest threat to national security is climate change.
The future of our planet is at stake.
Sanders taking on Amazon.
Bernie Sanders has been consistent hammering about income inequality.
Nobody in America works 40 hours a week, should be living in poverty. So our economy is rigged. We have a campaign finance system which is corrupt.
Sanders leading the charge to stop war against Yemen.
The first time ever the Senate has voted to end an unauthorized war.
The fight against injustice has been the work of his life.
Jobs and education, not jails and incarceration. We are not going to retreat on women's rights.
Sanders pushing a bold agenda that includes protecting DACA recipients and comprehensive immigration reform.
You don't rip little children away from the arms of their mother.
A major announcement from Amazon. Amazon will raise its minimum wage to $15 an hour. 350,000 workers.
Thousands of workers at Disney World will get raises. It's a victory for Bernie Sanders.
It's a victory for all workers. Brothers and sisters, we have a lot of work in front of us. If we are prepared to stand together, there is no end to what the great people of our nation can accomplish.
The reason why I'm showing you this is not to be like, oh, here's how Bernie can still win or some shit like that. Okay. The reason why I'm showing you this is because if the campaign is communicating like direct policy prescriptions to the harm that Americans are experiencing, okay, then you can cut ads against that and you can pump that shit everywhere. This was a major problem with Kamala Harris and her ad spend. Bernie's immigrant campaign ad.
Yo creo que siempre voy a luchar mientras los feliz y que ellos estén bien. Voy a
Here's the Medicare for All ad. We'll do that as well, but here.
seguir luchando por ellos para darles lo mejor. Pues mis hijos son como el motor de mi vida que le da. Mi familia aquí son mis 3 niños. Aquí en Immokalee, Florida. Immokalee es un pueblo pequeño, pero...
You're wrong about healthcare, man. I live in Canada. Universal healthcare just means extra taxes. I pay 2,000 extra taxes per month to support healthcare, and so does every Canadian. Wait, you don't know how good you have it, you fucking piece of shit. Fuck you. You... I can't even say it. I was going to say you deserve what's coming for you anyway, okay? You fucking piece of shit. You ungrateful bastard. You fucking ungrateful piece of shit. Imagine. Oh my God. Oh my God. You don't know how good Tim Duncan was. You don't know how good you have it. You fucking piece of shit. Oh no. Oh, I can't believe this motherfucker had the audacity to say such nonsense. Oh, Jesus Christ. I hope they take your ketchup chips away, you piece of shit. No more ketchup chips for you, motherfucker. Holy shit. Oh my God. I hope your fucking Putin is Putin or whatever the fuck is called is too soggy. I hope the French fries are too soggy every time. It's not right enough. Poutine. Yo, that's hateful rhetoric. Yeah, I'm saying it, dude.
Está lleno de gente muy trabajadora y también muy amable. Es un pueblo muy bonito en medio de todo lo que ha habido en abusos en el campo.
What was that about Tim Duncan? Who's that? Man, it's a NBA meme, okay? I'm not going to get into it. Just don't worry about it. I made a joke. I made an NBA joke. People got it. You didn't. It's fine. You don't have to. It's not for you.
Yo cuando vine de México, que empecé a trabajar en el campo, pues los tomates que yo pisco son los que se usan como en ensaladas, ¿cómo se va a decir? Americanos. Había más abusos de los patrones hacia sus trabajadores. Les proveían lo necesario como agua o los baños. Los patrones se enojaban de que si ya no querían seguir trabajando, hasta se agarraban a golpes. Solamente en las noches a veces uno se pone como...
I'm just going to lie and act like Kamala Harris presented this as a campaign ad. Okay? I'm just going to... Yeah, this is the latest campaign ad from Kamala Harris so that people will be on board with all the fucking libbed up weirdos in the chat will be like, oh, wow, look at that. She's speaking to the humanity of migrants. A Pennsylvania judge has ruled that Elon Musk's daily 1 million giveaway to voters can continue in a victory for the tech billionaire.
A veces hasta llorar porque no le alcanza. También los niños les afecta porque a veces no alcanzaba para todo lo que era como la comida.
Here, I'm going to move on from this and show you another fucking campaign ad, okay? From even earlier, even before Bernie. Well, he was still around back then, but here it is.
This election isn't going to be about changing parties. It's going to be about living for every other American. That's what gives me hope.
I don't want a nation just for me. I want a nation for everybody.
You can't walk away and not feel hope and not feel that glimmer of light again.
I don't think I was ever this interested in the voting process.
Okay, this is one of the most ass cheeks ones out of all of Obama's fucking ads.
First time I've ever felt compelled to be part of a movement such as this.
This is also devoid of policy.
I'm going to get them back involved in this process. The grassroots level first, and then let it go. That's going to make me happy.
We're organizing ourselves. The campaign helps us. They're there to help us, but we're organizing ourselves.
This is AI, bro. How can you fall for it? This is from September 1st, 2008. BarackObama.com. This is from 2012, the re-election, but I want the OG. Like, I want the OG shit.
At this defining moment in our history, the question's not, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? We all know the answer to that. The real question is, will our country be better off 4 years from now? How will we lift our economy and restore America's place in the world? Here's what I'll do as president. To deal with our current emergency, I'll launch a rescue plan for the middle class that begins with a tax cut for 95% of working Americans. If you have a job, pay taxes, and make less than
he's still pushing the tax cut shit.
$200,000 a year, you'll get a tax cut. I'll end the tax breaks for companies that ship our jobs overseas and give them to companies that create jobs here in America. And I'll make low-cost loans available to small businesses. To build our economy for the future, I'll focus on our urgent national priorities: reducing the cost of health care, breaking our dependence on foreign oil, and making sure that every child gets the education they need to compete. How will I pay for these priorities? First, we've got to stop spending $10 billion a month in Iraq while they run up a surplus. I'll end this war responsibly.
Kaya, place. Some of the most solid shit that Barack Obama said was, we must not do nation building in Iraq, but do some nation building here at home. Like that type of shit.
So we can invest here at home.
Bro, shut the fuck up. Oh my God. The fucking dumbass chatter. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. He hasn't stopped chirping about the Green Party. There has been like probably 10,000 chatters that have messaged this person back and been like, here are some of the many things that Hasan has said about the Green Party over and over again. And this fucking one dumbass cannot stop. I've been watching him in the chat. Literally, look at this. Look at this.
Plan carefully, making sure taxpayers are protected and CEOs don't game the system. I'll let the temporary Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest 2% expire and close the corporate tax loopholes the lobbyists put in. I'll order a top-to-bottom audit of government spending and eliminate programs that don't work. We face real challenges, and they won't be easy to solve. But we can do it if we end the mindless partisanship, the divisiveness, curb special interest power, and restore our sense of common purpose.
Curb special interest power. I mean, this was this was crazy. This is like a absolute banger of a banger.
Now, I understand times are hard. This won't be easy. The storm hasn't quite passed yet.
Did he do all this stuff? Fuck no.
Sometimes the skies look cloudy and it's dark and you think the rains will never pass. But here's what I understand, that as long as all of us are together, as long as we are all committed, then there's nothing we can't do. That's why we started off this campaign saying, yes, we can.
The we're not going back shit was literally the perfect yes, we can for Kamala Harris. At a time when 75% of Americans literally were like, we don't want old business. Kamala Harris could have turned around and been like, listen, you know, surely there were a lot of problems and we tried to tackle a lot of those problems in the administration that I'm a part of, but we haven't gone far enough. And I am willing and I'm committed to help Americans across the board. But one thing that a lot of people fail to consider is that I'm the only person who hasn't been president that's running right now. Donald Trump was. Like, Donald Trump was president. He had 4 years. He didn't fix anything. He actually only made things worse. He greatly increased income inequality. The we're not going back shit was actually not a bad line. Alongside the Republicans are weird strategy, in my opinion.
That's why we understood that black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, young, old, rich, poor, it doesn't matter, we're all American. That our destiny will be shaped by us. And this young generation that's out here, the young people of America, understand that the clouds, these too will pass. That a brighter day will come. That if you're willing to work for it, if you're willing to roll up your sleeves, if you're willing to lock arms and march and talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, make a phone call, do some organizing, yes, do some community organizing, then I promise you, we will win Virginia. We will win this general election. And you and I together, we will change the country and change the world. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.
Anyway, yeah, I think that there's a crisis in talent within the Democratic Party and the Republican Party as well, honestly, in terms of like having skilled communicators. That also is an issue.
In America works 40 hours a week.
Anyway, I wish that there was I wish that there was more. I wish there was more interest in like actually pushing for policy that is directly targeting people's issues, and then beyond that, I wish that campaign politicians on the campaign trail were charismatic enough to communicate that they are earnest and that they are genuinely going to do everything in their power to fight to implement these policies, to convince Americans that they will do that. But the unfortunate situation that we're in, currently experiencing is that not only do we not have enough charisma, we don't even have a willingness to, in my opinion, we don't even have a willingness to personally lie about good policies. Why did HasanAbi become so popular? He just seems like a normal person talking about political stuff. Yes, that is it. I am a normal person talking about political stuff. I think that's part of the reason why I became so popular. For that reason. That's the reason. You got it. Wait, where the fuck is the... Oh, shit. Did I lose the playlist? God damn it. Thank you, Themasius, for the playlist. All right, let's see what
Donald
other
Trump
ads...
has always wanted unchecked power.
I have the right to do whatever I want.
2025, he'll get it. No guardrails. This time, he will eliminate protections for pre-existing conditions, and he'll cut Social Security and Medicare to give more tax cuts to billionaires. Donald Trump is more unhinged and unstable than ever. If we give him total power, he'll put everything at risk.
I'm Kamala Harris.
I haven't covered last week tonight yet. I will.
Vice President Harris delivered her closing argument at the exact same location where Donald Trump spoke on January 6th.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
He wants to keep the American people afraid of each other.
We will never give up. We will never concede.
We have to stop pointing fingers and start locking arms.
We got to take care of going back.
We are not going back.
When I go to fill a prescription, my medication is astronomically expensive.
Trump said he would cut Social Security and Medicare.
He's never seen the big, long CVS receipt. He's never seen the receipt.
Kamala has ways to fix it.
Her expansion of $35 for insulin is a gigantic.
My favorite is watching old white ladies. Not like they found old white ladies in this situation that like can say her name right. But my favorite is like hearing from old white ladies who are like definitely supporting Kamala Harris, who are just having the hardest time saying her name correctly. It's pretty funny. Like, be like, yeah, I'm voting for Kamala. Camilla. I'm voting for her.
Advantage.
I mean, she gets it. She will strengthen Social Security and Medicare.
So many of you have told me about your plans for the future, but prices are too high. So here's what we're going to do about it.
Joe Rogan just dropped the Elon podcast. Ugh. What is he doing? He's just laying it on so thick, dude. He is so incredibly invested in Trump winning. Holy fuck. Every day, bro. Every day. Do another Trump interview, dude. Fuck it. YOLO. It's crazy how much he did one with JD Vance. He did one with fucking Donald Trump. He wants to be the press secretary. What is that?
I will take on price gouging. I will lower the cost of healthcare insurance. Donald Trump, well, he wants to give more tax breaks to the wealthy. I will cut taxes for the middle class instead. You may not always agree with me, but I promise I will do everything I can to lift up the middle class and be a president for all Americans. I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
There's some good ones in there, like respect. Okay, let's look at
Nothing.
Let's look at what Donald Trump is doing. This is the most polished. This is going to be the most polished Donald Trump ever will be.
Worth doing ever came easy.
Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation.
Never, ever quit. Never quit. Adversity makes you stronger. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right.
They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedoms. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way.
When they couldn't beat him, they tried to bankrupt him.
President Trump is back in a New York City courtroom.
When that didn't work, they tried to put him in federal prison.
Raided by the FBI.
When that didn't work, they even tried to kill him.
They just tried.
Dude, it was a registered Republican. What do you mean they tried to kill him? Also, when these guys are like, they tried to bankrupt him when they couldn't fucking put him in or when they tried to bankrupt, or if they couldn't bankrupt him, they tried to put him in fucking federal prison. And it's like, dude, he bankrupted himself 6 times. He also, like, the raid on Mar-a-Lago only happened due to his insane incompetence and lack of interest in playing ball for no reason whatsoever. I still, to this day, do not know why Donald Trump, deadass, was like, I'm not giving you the classified documents. I'm going to hide them in my bathroom. This motherfucker is illiterate. We don't even know if he can actually read. Why did you want all the classified documents? Just so you can show it to the fucking wettest dentist in fucking Palm Beach? Is that why? You're like, hey, look at this. It makes no sense. Like that, half of the shit that happens to Donald Trump is the easiest to avoid, okay? Like the easiest to avoid problems that he brought about himself. It makes no sense.
To kill President Trump.
Donald Trump still stands, ready to fight, ready to win, and ready to make America great again.
This is Donald Trump's house, brother.
This election, we all get to choose. I'm going to choose real American leadership and a real American badass. The 45th and soon to be.
I mean, this shit's devoid of policy too. Obviously, like, Republicans are dumb as bricks, but like, make no mistake, this in and of itself is also dumb as fuck. The thing that I always find really funny is that Republicans will constantly be like, you don't want to vote for the party of the wealthy elites, and you don't want to vote for the party just because a celebrity told you to vote for them. And it's like, dude, you also love celebrities. You also do idol worship. Donald Trump was a television personality. What the fuck are you saying? But also, The issue is you can't get any like A-listers to fucking advocate for you. That's why the only people you have in your ads is Hulk Hogan and Dana White. That's it. You do the same thing. If Beyonce was fucking pro-Trump, you'd be parading that shit around all day, every day.
47th President Donald J. Trump.
Starting on day one, we will defeat inflation quickly and we will make America affordable again. I will cut your energy costs in half.
It's time for the working man and woman to finally catch a break. We are going to bring back the American dream, bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. When I'm back in the White House, we will restore world peace, and it will be again peace through strength. I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. And we'll put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. We all salute the same great American flag. Our best days are yet to come. Together, we will make America great again.
4 years ago, we took a wrong turn and lost our purpose. We lost the strength that makes Americans who we are. If we dared to speak the truth, it was called hate speech. And
That's right, brother. They were the fucking... They wanted to put me in jail because I said Deborah's titties look nice. They said it was fucked up. I don't want to live in an America where I can't do that no more.
Values were labeled shameful. That's when everything we care about fell apart. We surrendered our borders, our paychecks, and our courage, our patriotism.
Those Trump ads go so fucking hard if you're stupid. Yes. Problem is a lot of people are, okay?
Was called toxic. Men could beat up women and win medals, but there was no prize for the guy who got up every day to do his job. Now we're being asked to settle for the way things are. And we're wondering if America can make a comeback. We can, because we've done it before. When we get knocked down, we don't stay down. We get up again. We fight. We fight.
I'm Donald J.
Okay, that part does go kind of hard. Kamala Harris. Oh, I'm not going to watch this. Okay. Swing state voters erupt for Trump. Also, why is Trey Yingst talking about swing state voters? He's in Tel Aviv. What is happening? Fox News foreign policy correspondent Trey Yingst joining us live from Tel Aviv to talk about the real swing state voters from America's most consequential swing state, Tel Aviv. What the fuck?
Meanwhile, with less than 24 hours to the election.
That was just the intro.
More than 4 million votes already cast in swing state Georgia. That's more than half the voters in the state. So, what are they saying this morning? Lawrence Jones is talking to them live at the Eggs Up Grill. It has been sold out since 4 a.m. in that battleground state. Lawrence, let them loose.
I mean, it's like we're at a stadium. This is the overflow room here. USA? Let's talk with some folks. It's amazing. So you already...
Dog, how did you know his name and where he was? That's not healthy, man. Trey Yingst, he's the Fox News guy. What? Of course I know his name and where he's stationed. He's the one. He is the guy.
Voted. What was the main issue for you when you went to vote?
Well, the borders of...
The only reason why they didn't actually ask Trey Yingst like what the situation is on the ground in terms of like the way that people in Tel Aviv think about Donald Trump is because it's plus 90 Donald Trump. That's why.
A big issue, and those people don't work, and we're giving them money like crazy. And I've worked all my life. I'm nearly 72 years old. Didn't even start drawing Social Security till I was 70. And, you know, it's just ridiculous what the Democrats wants to do. They're ruining this country.
A lot of people agree with him. I'm going to go to my friend right here. What's your name?
I'm Brittany Sorrells.
So, Brittany, what was the main issue when you went to the polls?
The main issue was just the fear of people voting in a direction that's going to take our economy in the wrong direction. My biggest priority is my family. I have 3 children, and if our economy doesn't change, it's going to be a hard candy Christmas this year. So
it may not even be a Christmas.
That's true.
Yeah, Democrats want to take away Christmas. I forgot. They're doing a war. They're doing a war against Christ. And they're doing a war against Christmas. No Christmas at all this year. The Democrats took it away. They took our gerbs and then they took our Christmas. Turns out Kamala wants to take away Christmas. What do we do? What do we do here, man? What do we do here? What are we doing? Like, we are such an abnormal country. I swear to fucking God, dude. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Half the fucking population is hallucinating just entirely separate realities at this point.
I want y'all to meet my other friend here. Now, you have not voted, but you promised me that you're going to vote.
Oh, yes. I vote every time.
And so when you go tomorrow, are you undecided, by the way?
No, I'm very decided.
And what got you to that decision?
I love American. I love
God damn, look at the crazy eyes on her. Jesus Christ.
Trump, and I love Jesus Christ.
Thank you so much. It's so easy, isn't it? All right, let's go to the other room. All right, now.
God, dude, yes. Give me more. Give me more.
Let's go. We're going to try to go to the other room. We got another room. What's up, everybody? Okay. Here. All right.
Bro's in enemy territory. Yeah, that's why he has his dog with him, dude. He's like, protection.
I want you to meet my friend here. You were telling me that you're passionate. What type of work do you do?
I'm an EKG technician at Advent Healthcare Redmond. It's a great place to work. With the economy that's going on, people can't afford to come to the hospital, pay for their bill, pay for their surgeries and everything. So it's tough out there.
So you were telling me earlier, it's not just the grocery store prices, but when people need health care, they can't even afford that.
Yeah, I know. They're having to choose between one or the other.
So the question is, who are you going to vote for now?
Trump.
Wow. All right. As you guys can see, in Rome, Georgia, we got a fired up crowd, and we got more of it after a quick break on Fox and Friends. So Brian, let's go talk with some women, because maybe they can give us
that abrupt cut was really funny. I'm sorry.
Some insight to what's happening right here. I pointed you out earlier because I just knew you had some stuff to tell me. So they're saying this race is real tight here in Georgia. Who would have thought in Georgia it'd be tight here again? And they're saying the key demographic is women.
You said once these guys go to barbershops to talk to black people and diners to talk to white people, and I haven't seen you be wrong yet. Oh, yeah, no, that's the method.
What are women telling you? How do you feel about this election?
Oh, I feel like it's going to go towards Trump because the women are for Trump. You know, we're middle-class women. We're the ones that have to buy the groceries, pay the bills, and we know what's going on.
So the question is, ma'am, I'm going to ask your friend next to you. So you got the grocery prices, and then you got the abortion issue. And they're targeting a lot of that abortion issue to women right now. What matters more, that issue or the grocery prices?
Well, it's definitely the grocery prices. I have a 32-year-old son that is barely making it buying groceries. He pays his mortgage, and that's it. Abortion is oh my goodness, it's heart-wrenching. So but it's just everything. It's just everything. And we need some happiness, you know. We need Trump.
Because you were back here agreeing. So I might as well get your thoughts on it. I heard the marbles. You know, why is it so close in Georgia? It used to be a solid Republican state. Y'all even got a Republican governor, and you got 2 Democrats that are senators. Why is it so close here? What changed?
We had a lot of people come in through the Hollywood tax credits that changed the profile of Metro Atlanta. So,
yeah, undesirables that came into my state, okay? I don't like it. Get these gosh darn libtards out of here, please.
we have a different voter in the Metro than we do out here in what I call real Georgia, God's country.
Real Georgia, God's country. Oh, my bad. I didn't realize she was going to go that hard. Holy fuck. God damn.
We have lived here for a really long time, and we know what our values are, and we have turned out strongly over the last 3 weeks to vote for those values. We don't want to be a border county. Every county in Georgia is a border county when the buses roll in with illegal aliens.
So the big question to the crowd as we get a live look of everybody, does Georgia go back to red or does it remain blue? Okay, this is what the people are saying, guys. I'll send it back to y'all. All right, we're back here in Georgia. It's a fired up crowd today. So Everyone always says that the next generation, we're in trouble. I think it's different for these Gen Z voters. So tell me, as Gen Z voters,
Gen
what is
Z?
the top?
These motherfuckers are Gen Z? Bro's got a newsboy hat. What are you talking about, Gen Z? Ain't no way. Brother, I'm a 33-year-old man. I would call that person sir, okay? I would call that person sir if I bumped into him. I'd be like, sorry, sir. Bro never gets carded? Yeah, no way.
Issue for y'all.
So for me, for someone who is about to graduate next year, for me, it's the economy and immigration. I have tons of friends who are still unemployed, who have not landed a job a year later after graduation. One of the things I'm concerned about is how much taxes am I going to be paying next year, listed in the Democratic plan. I mean, what am I going to be paying next year?
What about you, sir?
The same thing, economy and immigration. Immigration's a record high right now. Our economy is totally in the garbage. It's just everyone's living paycheck to paycheck, no matter how much you make, and it's just crazy. It's absurd.
Do you worry about buying your first house?
Oh, I'm really afraid that I'll never be able to buy a house if the economy keeps going the way it is.
Something has to change, right? All right, let's talk with some more folks back here. How y'all doing back here? What's your name, man?
Great, Carolyn Stallworth.
So, Carolyn, tell me, what's your number one issue?
Well, I have three: the economy, immigration, and health. Yeah. I am so glad that President Trump has added that to his key policies. Okay. Absolutely. Being the age that I am, and I was fortunate to be healthy until I was 75. So I know personally what the young folk are going to be going through as they age, and with food, synthetic foods, etc., being a major cause of our illnesses. I am just that president. Yes.
Thank you so much. Let's talk to your husband, right? Is this your husband? Yes. I assumed that I got it right. So tell me, everybody's talking about black males and the record support for Donald Trump. Can you tell me why there is this explosion within our community?
Well, that would be a very difficult question for me to answer because...
What explosion? I feel like when I tune into media and like liberals are talking about how like Trump is killing it with black men, and then Fox News is also saying Trump is killing it with black men, I'm like, where is this happening? Like, there is no explosion. It went from like 2 guys to 4. Like, it just doesn't, it's not real. You know what I mean? It's odd. It's odd that statistically that's an explosion of 100%. Exactly. But when you look at the totality, it's like marginal. It doesn't make any sense.
Because I've been a Republican since 1962. So, but one of, my primary objectives are to get young people to the stage in life where they're willing to work for the things that they like to attain.
That's right.
And the problem we have in today's environment, so much has been given to them based on tax dollars. This is why our economy now is in the garbage can.
And that's why we got so much inflation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We got a massive crowd here. We got the front row Joes here. We're going to talk to them later, but we got a big show coming up on Fox and Friend live from Georgia. We'll see y'all in a bit.
Hell yeah, baby. That's crazy, bro. Stuck with the Republican Party after the Civil Rights Act and the Southern Strategy. I mean, that's a real one, dude. What do you mean?
Here we go. Let's go, Georgia.
That's a real one, brother.
We got a big crowd here today. Are y'all ready?
Put some respect on it. He's OG.
Let's go. It's crazy in here. This is a powerful state. Because Georgia, it was 12,000 votes that separated Joe Biden from Donald Trump, and they say they're going to turn this state back red. Is that right? So let's get to why. So we were talking earlier. You know exactly how the economy is affecting people day to day because you see it in your job, right?
That is correct.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so I'm in the auto industry. Here I've been 10 years consecutive at one dealership. A majority of our vehicles are trucks. Trucks, with the hindsight of the increase of doubling the gas, has hindered people from buying trucks because of the fuel price of going near $3 a gallon from what it used to be.
My man said, I'm in the auto industry. He sells cars. It's like, brother, you are not in the auto industry, okay? The fuck? It's like working the cash register at the local grocery and being like, well, you know, I'm in the food procurement and processing business. I'm managing the agricultural outputs.
$1.30, $1.40 a gallon while Trump was in office. And now we have the situation where people have to look at the payment, the insurance, and they'll look at the price of gas. And now the price of gas exceeds the monthly payment of what they're paying on their truck.
And that's affected everything. I know because my dad's a truck driver. Let's bring this barber in right here.
I'm in the fashion industry. I work at Kohl's. Yeah, I work in ag sector. That's right. I manage financial transactions for $1 billion company. Yep.
You're a barber, and you've been watching our barbershop series. So you run into a lot of folks. When you talk to them, when they're in your seat, what do they say is the number one issue facing the country?
Number one issue.
You know, I thought it's real weird because, like, my barber clientele does not look like the barbershops you've been to. Matter of fact, if they showed up at my barber, I'd be goddamn scared.
Price of energy. And people forget all the things that's happened in the past 4 years. Who would have ever thought that $5 a gallon gas to go 3 hours to find baby formula? That happened in this 4-year period. We cannot have that again. We have to turn that around. And people forget all those little things that happened under Harris and Biden.
Wow. Turning the page. All right, let's talk with these folks. All right, ma'am. Tell me, what's your name?
My name's Lauren.
Lauren, so tell me, what's the number one issue facing this country right now?
I think border security. I have 3 young children, and I want them to grow up in a safe place, and the economy.
Why would someone in Georgia care about the border?
Because they are all coming in, and they are being distributed to all the states.
Yeah, a question I ask myself all the time. Because I've been told that they're crazy and they're coming over here. Wait, nope. Oh, no. I'm watching the door. He's going to the wrong house. No. Shit. No. God damn it. I'm so hungry. Chase him down? I'm not going to. Hold on. I might have to.
So they're in our own backyard. We know what happened in Athens, and it makes me very sad.
Yep, and we still that family still hasn't gotten a call from the president of the United States.
No, and no parent ever recovers.
It's unbelievable. Georgia, it's great to be here.
Didn't you already eat? No.
I'll send it back to you guys on the couch as I make my way to my seat.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart.
While the new shock results Iowa poll from pollster Ann Selzer has been blowing up everybody's news feeds, and for good reason, it is just one poll, and we should put it in the context of what's going on more broadly in the polling. Final polling before Election Day, including the big new poll from NBC News today. The top line of that one is that it's a tie, 49 for Harris, 49 for Trump. Even as the NBC poll shows a national deadlock, there's a couple of internal numbers that the pro-Harris side in particular is latching onto. For one, black voters in the NBC poll support Harris by a margin of 87% to 9%. In context, that's a 3-point larger margin with black voters than Biden won in 2020. Even though so much recent conversation about this campaign has centered on Harris supposedly having a slipping standing with black voters, in the NBC poll, she's doing better with black voters than Biden did. The NBC poll also shows a huge gender gap, which we're seeing in every poll, 34 points altogether. Women supporting Harris by 16, men supporting Trump by 18. Perhaps that is not surprising. On issues, Kamala Harris having a 20-point lead over Trump on the issue of abortion in the NBC poll. But there's a lot more here, and this is just part of the polling landscape as we do get our final look before actual vote starts to come in from actual voters on Tuesday. Let's bring in our friend Steve Kornacki, who was made for this and who is standing by at the big board with so much energy and stamina to spare. Steve, we're looking at you at the top of the mountain right now, my friend.
Well, here we go, Rachel. And look, when it comes to the polling right now, I think the safest thing to say is there are some extremely mixed signals that are coming in. You just talked about Iowa, obviously, a state Donald Trump won by nearly 10 points the last 2 elections. Now, at least in that Des Moines Register poll, having Harris slightly ahead. That comes as this national poll shows Donald Trump, frankly, frankly, better position nationally than he finished in 2020 or 2016, and frankly, than he polled in either one of those elections, too. Our poll has it tied. Other national polls have it very much in this range of a tied race, maybe Harris by 1 or 2, maybe Trump by 1 or 2. That's a little different, and it leaves open lots of questions about what's going on in the battleground states and perhaps outside of the battleground states. We'll get to that in a minute. But looking inside our NBC poll here, there's the question of enthusiasm, which always gets to the variable of turnout here. These are folks from our poll who rate themselves with the highest level of interest in this election. It is at 77% in our poll. You can see that is down a little bit from 2020. We had historic high turnout in 2020, 160 million voters. This number 2, when you look inside, the lowest levels of high interest are coming from non-white voters, Latino voters and black voters. Two ways to view that. Obviously, you're talking about traditionally core Democratic constituencies. That could take away from Democratic overall margins with those groups. It could also be trouble for Donald Trump, though, because polling has shown previously him expanding support with non-white voters. If he's starting to lose those potential voters to lack of interest, that could be trouble for his campaign. Then you take a look here at the issue.
Yeah, low turnout benefits the Democratic Party, which is kind of crazy to think about now, but low enthusiasm and low turnout at this stage is beneficial for the Democratic Party. What do you mean? I don't get it. All polls show that high propensity voters have swung for Kamala and the Democratic Party. Low and mid propensity voters, on the other hand, are going to Trump by wide margins, which means lack of enthusiasm or a depressed voter turnout will be more beneficial for the Democratic Party. High enthusiasm and higher turnout implies that there are, there are low and mid propensity voters that are interested and are going to go out and vote. And those numbers are aggressively in Donald Trump's favor.
It really, the climate we're seeing here is what we've seen the whole election. Harris is bested on the issue of abortion, 20 points over Trump on that. Trump here with the advantage on inflation and cost of living. The other one you don't see here, the biggest Trump advantage is the border and immigration. The gender gap, I think you...
For the record, this number, once again, the fact that they think Trump is competent and effective by 2 points is fucking insane. And I think that's a Joe Biden. That is Joe Biden drawing that down for Kamala. But the fact that inflation and cost of living, Trump only has plus 12 advantage is insane. And it is entirely due to Trump's, ironic to say this now, but incompetence. It is so glaringly obvious how fucking exceptionally bad Trump's campaign has been that, like, he only has a plus 12 on inflation and cost of living. That's crazy.
The biggest Trump advantage is the border and immigration. The gender gap, I think you talked about this one, but I mean, just to put this in context, Trump leading by 18 points with men, Harris leading by 16 with women. If that's what you get, something like that, that's a gender gap of 34 points. The previous high in history was 24 points. So this would absolutely shatter any historical record when it comes to the gender gap. Then there's this interesting issue of you've got an incumbent administration that Harris is a part of. Joe Biden's final approval rating in our poll is going to clock in at 41%. And obviously that low approval rating is one of the reasons there were Democrats who were anxious to get Biden out of this race earlier this year. Harris, part of that administration. How much is that weighting her down here? And then Trump himself, the approval rating for a former president seeking to become a future president. In our final poll here, when we ask people retrospectively, thinking back, do you now approve or disapprove of the job Donald Trump did as president? He's up to 48%.
This is not good for the Democrats.
Higher than Biden, and this is higher than any reading we ever got in an NBC poll when Donald Trump was president. So after leaving office, it has ticked up a little bit for him. Will that be enough to put him over the top? We talk all about the difference between early election day voting, the partisan disparities we're finding. Others are finding this too. Democrats, you can expect when early vote gets reported out, especially the mail-in vote on Tuesday night, should be some Democratic advantages. The election day vote becomes a question of how much much of a Republican advantage when the people who vote on Election Day, when their votes start to get tabulated. Now we get to away from the national poll to the battlegrounds. This is our running average. We've been keeping this the entire summer and fall of the quality polls in all of the battleground states. And a couple things jump out here. Well, obviously, they're all close. You don't see a margin here of greater than 1.9 points. You do see a bit of a north-south divide. We've seen this lately in the polling. Trump's leads here, very small, but Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, basically Sun Belt states. Harris's best performances in here, Wisconsin, 1.4, 1.8 in Michigan. These are the northern tier states. 0.3 of a point in Pennsylvania. So a bit of a north-south divide. And if that holds, if that cements, that is ultimately good news for Harris, because Michigan plus Pennsylvania plus Wisconsin, if there are no surprises outside of the battleground, would for Harris equal 270 electoral votes. If the action really is limited to the battleground, Donald Trump has to win one of those 3 northern tier battleground states where our averages continue to show Harris with slight leads in those states. But then that gets to the question, if there are no surprises outside of the core 7 battleground states that we have talked about.
Yeah, New Hampshire, right?
Over and over about. And that is what the Des Moines Register poll really gets to. It's the question of what is happening in Iowa itself, because obviously you talked to Ann Selzer right there. One of the questions is, does this spill over to other states? Does this reflect something, if this is what's happening in Iowa, that might be happening in other states, maybe states we haven't been talking about, maybe some of the other battleground states? So a couple ways to look at this. One, obviously, I think you were talking about this, but the issue of abortion exceptionally potent in Iowa because that 6-week ban went into effect this summer. Millions of dollars in spending there, not in the presidential race, but congressional races where abortion has been a driving issue. Is this more of a state-specific effect that's limited more to Iowa, if this is what is happening in Iowa? One thing that keep in mind, I think, we'll go over here, this is going to start lighting up on Tuesday with our results. Iowa on Tuesday, I just want to show you the history here, going back. Remember, this is an Obama-Trump state. It's one of the most dramatic swings from Obama to Trump. So you have voters here who not long ago were comfortable voting Democratic, blue-collar white voters, huge blue-collar white population here that swung very hard to Trump. There are more Obama-Trump counties in Iowa than any other state in the country. I raise that because what state is number 2? That would be Iowa's political cousin right across the Mississippi River, Wisconsin. This has the second most Obama-Trump counties in the country. And demographically, these are extremely similar states. Large white populations, a lot of blue-collar, rural white populations. Even when you get into the Mississippi area, you can go back and find German descent is very common among people. Very common demographic features and politically similar movement here. We have not, for the most part, seen in Wisconsin the kind of polling shift we just saw in that new Iowa poll today. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If it potentially could be a state-specific thing, but if it's not, if it's spilling over, this is a place where you would expect to see it on Tuesday night because of those demographic similarities. And then, as I say, there's that question of, look, so much of the polling attention, the budgets for polling have been directed to the 7 battleground states. Is there actually something going on in Iowa? Was there something going on this whole time that was undetected? And could that be happening elsewhere? The early test you want to pay attention to on Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern. A lot of the polls are going to close in New Hampshire. And this was a state, again, not in the battleground. Biden won by 7. The Trump folks think this thing is a lot closer than most people are talking about. They sent J.D. Vance there today. And remember, in 2016, Clinton won New Hampshire over.
Big mistake. If you want to lock up a state, sending J.D. Vance there, probably not the best method. I'm just saying.
Over Trump. Of all the Clinton won states, none was closer than New Hampshire. The margin was just 3,000 votes between those candidates. So this is an early test, I think, for me on Tuesday night. Have we potentially misunderstood the non-battleground states? If we're seeing some kind of surprise in New Hampshire, I think that'll be obviously a huge development.
Obviously interesting, too, in terms of Trump's decision to spend some last-minute campaign time in Virginia, raising the question as to whether or not they think that's on the map as well. Steve Kornacki, just the beginning of what is going to be a beautiful relationship over these next many hours. Steve, thank you. We'll get back to you later on.
I strongly believe Ohio would be more blue than expected because of how much Ohioans hate JD. That would be insane.
Steve, we just had the Secretary of State from Arizona.
Dartmouth poll shows Harris 60. What? Brother. The JD van. Don't say it's New Hampshire. What are you talking about? It's New Hampshire? What the fuck are you talking about? It's New Hampshire. So, New Hampshire is 21 extra points more libbed up for Kamala Harris? Like, that's insane. No, I don't think this poll is accurate. That's a fucking psychotic poll. That would be, if Kamala Harris picked up like 20 extra points from Joe Biden since 2020, if that was the case, then this would be an electoral landslide across the board. There is like no, Kamala Harris would be swinging Texas. That's insane.
Arizona confirmed their official results in Arizona. They are expecting to 10 to 13 days. They say with larger margins, maybe the media companies will be able to project things earlier than that. That's not their concern. Does that jibe with the way that you are thinking about Arizona? And indeed, how should we set our expectations in terms of what we're going to know on election night?
Yeah, I think Arizona is the state, if it's suspenseful and if the Electoral College math is depending on Arizona, and add to that Nevada, one of those two states, it's going to be a while. If it's close in those states and the electoral math depends on it, for the reasons you just...
Don't know how to count over there. They literally don't know how to do math, bro. The further out west you get, the less people know math. California fucking included. It's not Alabama. I'm not even kidding. It's worse than Alabama. It's not even close. Nevada, Arizona, California, they just don't know how to do math. They don't know how to count.
Just heard in that interview, and it's fairly similar in Nevada too, just in terms of it's a ton of mail-in ballots that they do not all get counted on election night or the day after, and it becomes a days-long process. So if the count is very close, if there's a possibility of the result changing as those days of subsequent mail-in voting counting take place, those states won't be called. If they're crucial to the math, we'll be waiting on them like last time around. That's the long game scenario, I think. But in the other battleground states, the 5 eastern battleground states, a bit of a different story potentially from 2020. Let's take you through Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. The polls are going to close in Georgia. This will be the first battleground state where we start getting results, and we expect we will get a lot of results. In Georgia, they can pre-process the mail ballots, the absentee ballots. Those can be pre-processed. So they don't, some states they have to wait till the polls close. It's a cumbersome process of verifying signatures. That can all be done ahead of time in Georgia, and there's a ton of early in-person voting, which is relatively easy to tabulate too. There's also going to be folks who wait till election day to vote. Expect that to come in throughout the night too. But the bottom line is you should have the vast majority of the vote counted in Georgia sometime late that night into the very, very early hours of Wednesday morning. Remember, Georgia's one of those states in 2020 it took so long because they had a flood of mail-in ballots. Mail-in voting is down 75% in Georgia, just mechanically going to be much easier, probably, to tabulate those results in North Carolina, in Georgia. To go to North Carolina, that's our second battleground poll closing, 7:30 Eastern. Very similar here. Expect of the mail voting that takes place, and again, that's down to the mail-in voting and the absentee to come fast and furious not long after those polls close at 7:30. The same-day vote will then follow that, and you expect, as we showed you earlier if you were watching, we expect the same-day vote in North Carolina and a lot of other places to favor Trump, to favor the Republicans. So put that on your radar right now in North Carolina. Likely what we expect is the Democrats will get their best numbers with the big early returns, and then the question becomes, can Trump erase that if the Democrats are ahead with the same-day voting? So again, 7 o'clock hour, you're getting those two. I'll skip Pennsylvania for...
No, Steve Kornacki is not on cocaine. He is purely running on the love that he has for looking at polls, dude. This is his moment. Every 2 years, they take him out of a fucking vat and unleash him upon the unsuspecting masses. And he wins our hearts every single time.
for 1 second and just quickly take you through the other two Midwest states. Michigan is the state that's had massive changes to its procedures, a total overhaul. This is a state that took a long time because of the clog of mail-in voting in 2020. Well, now they can, this is brand new for Michigan, this idea of pre-processing mail-in votes. Again, all that administrative work to get the ballot ready to be counted, they're already doing that in most places in Michigan. That's a big change from 2020. So is the fact that Michigan now, unlike 2020, they have early in-person voting, and tons of people there, we're seeing from the stats, are taking advantage of it. So that combination of pre-processing, of reduced mail-in voting, and of that rise of early in-person voting, we could have, again, a much clearer picture of Michigan on election night than we've had before. Again, most of Michigan's going to close at 8 p.m. There's 4 counties on the fringes of the UP that stay open till 9 Eastern, but we will have results, no call, but we will have results in that 8 o'clock hour, a lot of them. Wisconsin, this could be very dramatic in the early hours of Wednesday, the wee hours of Wednesday. This is how it's played out a couple elections now recently. Just to explain it again, in Wisconsin, they've got something that resembles early in-person voting, but it's not technically called that. We don't have to get into that. But basically, folks who are voting early in person or who are voting absentee, there are some cities in Wisconsin where they take those votes and they count them at the end of the night in one location, and then all of those votes get released. And where that happens most dramatically, we will be talking about this as these results come in Tuesday, is the city of Milwaukee. All of the votes cast before Election Day are counted after everything else is counted. This usually happens like 2, 3 in the morning, maybe a little earlier if they're quicker, and then it all gets reported out. Huge Democratic city, biggest city in Wisconsin. We have seen in recent elections Republicans leading late.
Yeah, they're going to go to sleep again, and then they're going to wake up to fucking the Milwaukee vote dump, and they're going to lose their fucking minds, dude. Like, that's where all the black people live in the state of Wisconsin. That's where all the blacks live. Milwaukee! We know they've lied. They did it again.
And having that absentee early vote release from Milwaukee, putting the Democrats ahead. That happened with Joe Biden. It was the moment in 2020 when I realized Biden had shifted to the advantageous position over Trump. It was when Trump had about a 20,000 vote lead in Wisconsin, about 4 in the morning. That Milwaukee batch came in. Biden went ahead, realized that Biden was probably going to win Milwaukee. Pay attention for that. If it's close everywhere else in Wisconsin, we are going to be waiting on that, and that's going to be a very significant moment in this election. And I'll just land here. I left Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania is the biggest wild card when it comes to the timing of this. Remember, in 2020, it was Pennsylvania that ultimately resulted in the election being called about 11:30 in the morning Saturday. What was that because of? Pennsylvania, for the first time, COVID emergency 2020, did vote by mail, and they were flooded with vote by mail, in part because Pennsylvania does not have that early in-person voting. So you're either voting by mail or you're voting on election day. There's a little bit of a shift in that this year, but again, that's the broad contour of it. The key, though, again, Pennsylvania did not change its laws. Part of the problem in 2020, all those mail-in votes, they had to wait till the election day to start going through them administratively. It just took forever. Didn't change the law, but again, with mail-in voting coming way down this year, that's just going to be a lot less to process for these counties. They've got more experience. They've had a few elections since 2020 doing it. And also there are procedures in place in some of these big counties now to continue counting round.
We're such a stupid country, bro. Like, the fact that we don't have some kind of federal guideline or standard on this process is so dumb. It's like what the fuck are we doing, man? Like, why? Why does there have to be 50 different ways of doing this shit? It's so annoying. It's so fucking stupid, and it's deliberate. Like, there's a reason for why it's this stupid. Each state wants to enforce their own level of, like, restriction and control over the process. It's so brain broken. God, what a joke country we are.
The clock, not close down shop for the night. We saw that happen a bit in 2022. So the potential exists in Pennsylvania to be significantly faster than 2020. But as I say, it's a huge wild card because, again, with no changes in these laws, actually, you're just kind of depending on the mechanics being smoother and maybe the folks running these to have a little bit more experience, a little bit know-how. So we will see on Pennsylvania. Obviously, if we're waiting on that, that is going to be a huge piece of the electoral.
Literally the most important state in this election Like, the entire race hinges on Pennsylvania. If Trump wins Pennsylvania, he wins. If Kamala Harris wins Pennsylvania, she wins. That's it. What a fucking whack-ass system.
Puzzle.
One slightly impolitic follow-up for you on this, Steve. When you talk about the mechanics and the different procedures that have been put in place, particularly ones that have changed since 2020, are there any of these real crucial jurisdictions that have really important races that we're going to be watching really carefully where you feel like they made some real inexplicable decisions in terms of new procedures or ways they're going to handle the vote that you're just watching for, places where the technocratic way they're approaching the count is something that's keeping you up at night?
Yeah, there's a couple things that were giving some concern to some election officials that are being held up by courts right now that I think could have been wild cards in this. There's a procedure in North Carolina, basically, about the early in-person voting that might have that delay. I mean, I'm talking like 15, 30 minutes there. I should say there is a change that I think is good in Pennsylvania. I say there are no big changes, but there's one in terms of just public knowing what's going on in Pennsylvania at midnight on election night. Even if there's all these uncounted mail-in votes, they have to now tell you, these counties do, how many total mail-in votes they have. So we will know at midnight, if this is all goes to plan, we will know what the universe is beyond that of mail-in votes to be counted. That was a bit of a mystery as that whole process played out in 2020. So from a transparency standpoint, if that is what we end up seeing, we'll have a little bit of clarity even if we don't have the votes in Pennsylvania.
Fascinating.
Georgia Fulton County installs panic button at each precinct.
Vote counting center like this one, Wolf.
All right, Sarah Murray in Georgia for us. We'll be in close touch with you. Clearly, thank you very, very much. Thanks. And to our viewers, thanks very much for watching. I'm Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room. I'll be back tomorrow for special Election Day coverage starting at noon Eastern with my colleague, Aaron Burnett. Until then, once again, thanks very much. Aaron Burnett Out Front starts right now.
Out front next, down to the wire. We are in the final hour.
Do you still hold the reactionary position that electronic ballots are bad? No. You have misunderstood me, I think either deliberately or maybe as a mistake. I maintain the position that paper ballots are and will be the safest way to vote regardless. Okay? That's it. Electronic ballots with a paper trail, paper signature, is still the safest way. It is not a reactionary position. It is the correct position. Anyway.
That's very helpful, Steve. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah. This is normally where I'd be doing what to watch. But ahead of Election Day, what we're all watching is how women
No paper trail is idiotic? Okay.
will affect this election and what this big gender gap we've been talking about.
I mean, most people disagree with you on this issue. Like I didn't come up with this conclusion on my own. Like this is what professionals say is the safest possible method. Like I've never once heard a cybersecurity expert openly say that electronic voting on its own is good.
Actually means, especially in the crucial and very tied battleground state of Pennsylvania. Vice President Harris is counting on suburban women to put her over the top there, and she's got some unexpected help from some longtime Republicans. Weijia Jiang reports.
She's a self-proclaimed lifelong conservative.
Friends don't let friends vote Democrat. Yeah, boy, you have come a long way.
But the group Stephanie Sharp co-founded, Women for Us,
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right, is the message, yeah.
is urging fellow Republican women to vote for Vice President Kamala Harris, turned off by former President Trump's rhetoric toward women.
I want to protect the women of our country, whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
And his role in reversing Roe v. Wade.
We'll send Donald Trump packing and have compromise on issues that are important to all of us.
In Pennsylvania, they are targeting voters in the Philadelphia suburbs that helped President Biden win the state 4 years ago.
I heard you talking about a clandestine sisterhood. What does that mean?
There are, again, hundreds of thousands of Republican women out there who are ready to vote outside their party, but they don't want to talk about it.
Across the battleground states, Post-it notes like these popping up in women's bathroom stalls are aimed at the so-called silent Harris supporter.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
So are campaign ads like this one, narrated by Julia Roberts.
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth.
These Trump supporters are skeptical of polling that shows Harris has a big lead among women.
God, I have a big group of families, and I don't know one woman who isn't going to go in there and proudly vote for Donald Trump.
For them, it's about policy, not personality.
We're not going home with him. We're not sitting and eating at the dining room table with him every night. But actions speak louder than words, and his actions are.
They're like, yeah, he's gross. Yeah, he's gross and gives off rapey vibes, but, you know, I'm still voting for him.
More aligned with my faith, with my family, and the values that we hold dear.
A senior Trump campaign official tells us that even if Harris performs better with women, they believe that Trump's popularity with men will be more impactful. One strategy, they are flooding rural areas looking for men who usually don't vote. As for Harris, she's going to be knocking on doors herself today in Scranton. Vlad?
Fascinating report. Ouija, thank you very much.
Let's vote. Let's get out the 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 vote.
Democrat machine in PA has gone kaput, says Waters.
Let's get out the vote. Let's win.
Was amazing. Kamala closing her campaign with a heaping, serving a cringe as the Veep and Donald Trump make their final push.
Once again, you are Greg Buttfeld. You can't say that. Like, you are physically incapable of not being cringe. This makes no dang sense.
To win over undecided voters in swing states, Jesse. Right now, this race is tighter than the hairpiece that's glued to Jesse's scalp. Trump is closing like a madman with 4 rallies across 3 swing states, while Harris is sticking to one place, the Commonwealth of PA.
Yeah, I wonder why.
We stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America's promise, and we will take...
That's not good for Trump, dumbass. That's bad. Yeah, he's hemorrhaging support everywhere and trying to make up for it. Like, why the fuck's he going to North Carolina one day out from the election? Is North Carolina supposed to be a state where he's even remotely scared of losing? How can you fucking present that as like a good thing? Like, looking at this map and being like, how fantastic, Donald Trump is really killing it, is like the false, it's not the correct interpretation of this map. This means shit is fucked up, okay? If you're going to North Carolina 2 days out from the vote or a day out from the election, that means you're scared. That means you're scared of fucking losing North Carolina. Shouts out the Black Adolf Hitler, Mark Robinson, by the way. Don't think, I've said this already, I don't think that it'll have like consequences on the rest of the ballot because people just don't give a shit about their governors and this, or people give more of a shit about their governors. They have a more personal bond with their governors. This map makes me think that Harris is all in on the 270 path only. I think it's smart for Kamala Harris to try to pump Pennsylvania as much as she possibly can because she's cooked without it. So it does make sense that she's doing that. If anything, Trump should also be battling in Pennsylvania.
We stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America's promise.
Hillary ignored visiting states. It did not pan out well. I think Trump has a feel for this. No, I know Trump has a feel for this. My point is he's going to North Carolina because he feels North Carolina is no longer secure. That's the point. That's why I'm saying he does have a feel for it. That's why he's going to North Carolina. And that, the thing that he's feeling is danger.
And we will take back the nation that we all love so much.
It's about the win, and it is about more. It is about more. It is about just strengthening our country and reminding each other we are all in this together. We rise and fall together.
I've been waiting 4 years for this. We're just one day away from what will be the most important political event in the history of our country.
It is time for a new generation of leadership in America. And I am ready to offer that leadership as the next president of the United States of America.
Warm up to Kamala's star-studded finale. And
I was thinking about this, like, one other message that Kamala Harris could have utilized
to like clamp on the white suburban voters that were like formerly Republican is you don't ever have to see Trump again. Like vote for me one time and you never have to see another Trump rally. It's actually an incredibly convincing strategy in my opinion. Like that's it. Even if you don't want to do it, fucking vote one time and then you never see Trump again. Think about that.
Philly featuring Joker 2-star Lady Gaga, Latin sensation Rick Martin, and talk show queen Oprah. Never heard of her. But Van Jones.
Dude, you are so lame, dude. You would love to have these celebrities on board. Like, I don't give a fuck about celebrities, okay? I do not give a fuck about whichever celebrity is like in the tank for Kamala Harris versus whoever the fuck. But make no mistake, Republicans literally hype up Ted Nugent and fucking Kid Diddler Rock because those are the only people that are stupid enough to be like, I love Donald Trump. Like it's a waste. Okay, LeBron is different. He's the GOAT. Obviously, he's the fucking GOAT. And, you know, what he says goes. Okay, calm down. That's why I wrote in LeBron James.
Jones is worried the Celeb Bonanza finale could backfire.
I don't think people understand. Working people sometimes have to choose. Am I going to go to the big, cool concert this week and pay for babysitting for that? Or am I going to try to figure out a way to get to the polls? I don't like these big star-studded events. In fact, probably helped us lose last time. I don't want people going to concerts. I want people knocking on doors. I want people out there fighting for this thing. I'm just nervous.
All right, Dana, I have to come to you first because you seem to understand the core.
By the way, this is how the Fox News funnel, CNN, like centrist, center-right funnel works. That's why it was always funny when Anderson Cooper was like, what do you mean? Like, Fox News watchers don't watch us. When he was talking to Charlemagne to God, this is fantastic. Regardless of who wins tomorrow, Van Jones will cry on national TV. An unfortunate, sickening reality we all have to face. He makes me sick.
Send dreamers back for no reason. It's vindication for a lot of people who
Jeff Bezos saw this and was like, I'm giving you $100 million.
have really suffered. You know, I can't breathe. You know, that wasn't just George Floyd. That was a lot of people that felt that they couldn't breathe. Every day you're waking up and you're getting these tweets and you just don't know. And you're going to the store and people who have been afraid to show their and it's easier for
Former Maoist third worldist Van Jones. Remember when he also cried when Joe Biden dropped out of the race? So a privileged ass man who wasted his votes because it ultimately doesn't affect him. Cool. Wait, what?
Oils and the engine of this whole system. And I don't understand, as we add more experts and analysis, the election doesn't become more transparent. It becomes more complicated. It's like we turned the election into a phone plan or a cable provider where there's like, I don't even know what I'm listening to.
Britt Hume said something this morning in Newsroom that I thought was true. You know, sometimes you get frustrated with your phone and you just want to go back to a paper calendar.
Yes.
Because that's when you knew, like, everything was there. He said back earlier when he was reporting in his beginning of his career, you would, as a reporter, go and actually talk to people and get the feel for it. And now everything is so overpolled and social media is distorting things and you just don't necessarily have a good feel. So no one really knows exactly what's going to happen. I do want to add one thing, though. It's smart for her to stay in Pennsylvania because if she doesn't win Pennsylvania, she's not going to win the presidency. And Van Jones, who we just showed from CNN, he also said during that same hit that he said, nothing is making me happy about Pennsylvania. He said, I'm nervous all the time, but he said, Philadelphia is where they need big numbers, but it's been trending down. And it's not in terms of people, of just Republicans, it's just people are not going out to vote.
We'll see. Low turnout, not necessarily the worst for the Democrats.
So we started this with her chanting, let's get out the vote, let's get out the vote. I don't know if the chanting is going to do it. I don't know if Cardi B is going to do it or Lady Gaga or Oprah even could do it. Because if people don't feel motivated to go out and vote in Pennsylvania, that's going to be really tough for her.
If only she had put Shapiro on the ticket, but she had to keep the Jew off the ticket, Jessica.
My favorite game.
Yes. Isn't it an interesting microcosm of America? Lady Gaga endorsing Kamala.
There's nothing I hate more than these fucking monstrous pieces of shit who have regularly and routinely platformed anti-Semites who cut countless hours of anti-Semitic messaging that like rich Jews are doing great replacement. George Soros is bringing an unrestricted amount of black and brown people who are barbaric to destroy Western civilization. Like, this is like normal Fox News commentary. And then those guys turn around and they're like, yeah, it's because they are Jew haters. That's why they didn't want Josh Shapiro on the ticket. Like, that's, it's one of the, it's a thing that I hate it so much. I hate how anti-Semites get away with so much anti-Semitic shit and then can turn around and be like, yeah, you know who's actually anti-Semitic? It's the fucking liberals, the Democrats. Like, obviously, Kamala Harris is super pro-Israel. All right? That's not what I'm saying. But it's just like incredibly disingenuous, especially as someone who is routinely fucking smeared in this direction. I hate it. I hate that these guys who very openly platform anti-Semitic pieces of shit can just turn around and be like, oh yeah, you know who's anti-Semitic? It's the fucking liberals, dude. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, I guess the liberals are fucking anti-Semitic because they didn't want Josh Shapiro to be on the ticket. That was the real reason.
But Lady Gaga's dad endorsing Trump. So who has a
Is the Josh Shapiro bit true? No, dude, what the fuck? Dude, Kamala Harris is married to a Jewish man. What are you talking about? Yeah, she was like, I'm secretly super anti-Semitic. It makes no sense. For many people in the media, their metric of like who's actually anti-Semitic, I just didn't know why they keep repeating it. It's because they're fucking disingenuous monsters, dude. What do you mean? They lie. It's Fox News. That's it. They lie all the time. They're so mad that their VP Oppo research went from he conspired to hide a 50 stab murder to he's a hot fuck boy who fucked. I know. Like, that's where a lot of the resentment actually stems from, is that Josh Shapiro had a lot of weaknesses that the Republicans could have exploited. And there was a shit ton of oppo for him. And obviously when they were like, oh my God, he has like crazy controversies that'll bring the ticket down. We can't have him on. They basically turned around and they're like, oh, well, we fucked up.
closer grip on reality of everyday Americans, the one who feels the effects of a bad economy or crime or immigration, the restaurant owner in a crime-plagued city, or the pop star, his daughter. Shouldn't she listen to her dad instead of her friends?
I think she's listening to herself. She was born
That's
this
always a
way,
mistake.
and she has always lived this way. And I don't think we need to pit families against each other. He has had success, and she has obviously had wild success and is an incredible talent. And there's no reason to minimize her for this. There is reason to consider if there will be someone who sees this as the final night is just about stars and it's not about Kamala Harris making her pitch. She will, I'm sure, give her same stump speech that she has been giving, which has been wildly effective. Now, in every survey, the late breakers are going for Kamala by double-digit margins. And Trump used to be leading in that category of people who were deciding closer to the end from 4 to 6 weeks out. But the last 2 weeks, it's been about her. But, you know, Van Jones says, I want people knocking on doors. They're having to send home canvassers because they have so many. And on Saturday, this was incredible. The Harris campaign was knocking on 2,000 doors a minute across Pennsylvania.
2,000 a minute, you
A
say?
minute,
A minute.
I say.
My goodness.
Yeah, and you just don't hear those kinds of stories from the Trump campaign. Now, that's not to say that
Maybe
they
'cause they're
don't
lies.
exist. They're not lies. I mean, my mom is right now in Scranton knocking on doors.
Really?
Oh. What? You got something against my mom now?
What?
Oh, you said it.
Of course
like,
not.
oh,
No, we
good.
all said wow.
Wow. Oh, okay. Anyway, the closing.
Judge Janine is like, we have to assassinate Jessica Tarlov and her mom. I do want to reiterate a position that I've maintained, which is that a lot of liberals, I think, are betting on a massive fucking Kamala Harris wipeout, including but not limited to friends of mine, people who I respect. And I don't necessarily see it. I don't necessarily see that. No, not Austin. Austin is definitely way more conservative on this stuff than a lot of other people. I don't see a blowout.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see like a massive fucking blowout. I see a relatively close race that Kamala Harris is marginally favored on. Anyway.
Message differential is so stark, though, and you are seeing the effect of this on people who are making these late decisions and just the conversations about how it's ending. So Donald Trump has had to be in North Carolina, which I'm sure he's not thrilled about. So that's the only battleground state that he actually won. He had to go back there. And this rally that he gave yesterday morning, the first one, the morning in Pennsylvania, where he did everything from saying, you know, he shouldn't have left in 2020 to that weird comment about, you know, shooting the media, that they'd have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much. So his spokesperson had to come out and clarify that. Now, if you want to say everything about Trump taken out of context, it doesn't matter. He only has a finite amount of time left to tell the American public that their lives will be better under another Trump administration than under a Kamala Harris administration. And she's the one that's actually making those connections. She's the one that's convincing people that she'd be as good on the economy. She's completely erased his lead there.
It is. We will get into that in the B block. She seems to be actually not talking about any policy at all, Judge.
Yeah, so I'm curious, when people go knock on doors, what do they say Kamala's policy is? Other than, you know, she's this great person who wanted to decriminalize the crossing.
What is Donald Trump's policy? Concentration camps for migrants and full tariffs. What other policy has Donald Trump ever communicated? He says, drill, baby, drill. That's it. Like, what are you fucking talking about? Don't forget the wall. He doesn't even talk about the wall anymore. It's because the Democrats literally are the ones that are doing the wall now. Donald Trump might as well be the anti-wall guy at this point. I mean, technically, he is the anti-wall guy. Democrats were like, we want to build the wall. And Trump was like, don't do it. Don't pass that legislation. So, like, I guess that's flipped over too. You should read his policy PDF on his website. I know his policy PDFs on his website. It's basically a fucking lightened, it's a lighter version of Project 2025, even though he says he doesn't know what it is. I know, Trump's agenda to fucking save America or whatever. The Democrats are the great dividers law. Yeah. Totally.
Of the border by illegals and who wanted to ban fracking and confiscate guns and eliminate private health insurance when they knock on doors. I'm curious as to whether they have answers for that. But look, here's the issue. She's in Pennsylvania 4 times tomorrow. OK, she's doing that because she needs to do that. Had she chosen Josh Shapiro, if she ends up losing this race over Pennsylvania, it will be on her totally for not picking a guy because he was Jewish, for not.
I like by the way, this is also partially how you know Josh Shapiro was a bad pick. I mean, given how the campaign ran, Josh Shapiro would have been a better pick than Tim Walz, most likely. Because like they didn't actually adopt progressive policies anyway. But I will say this. Okay. You can tell that Josh Shapiro wasn't a great fucking candidate. You could tell that Josh Shapiro wasn't a great candidate because of how much they talk about how awesome he is. It's like the Joe Biden line. Trump loves Joe Biden now. He just wishes he was running against Joe Biden. And these guys want him way too much. And it's actually partially because like Josh Shapiro is pretty conservative in comparison to Tim Walz especially. I thought it was unacceptable for someone who pushed for and caucused with the Republicans in his own state as a blue governor to do school vouchers, school choice programs. I don't agree with that at all. I think that is anti-teachers union. I think that would have been a devastating decision. And that was like one of the major reasons. Because like the way I see it, everyone's pro-Israel. I don't give a fuck that he's like, I don't give a fuck that he's Jewish. I don't give a fuck that he wrote an article when he was like in college or whatever, or about how like Arabs have a primitive mind that only knows violence or whatever. Dude, basically every fucking governor and every Democratic Party politician thinks that way, if not has a worse perspective on it. Okay. Like, I don't think that plays a role in his analysis of Israel. Okay. I'm talking about Josh Shapiro. Like, I'm being radically honest with this assessment. I think that it was some of the other stuff that was more problematic, including but not limited to the case that he pushed aside for his friend or his friend's son, where his friend's son literally fucking killed his girlfriend. His friend's son killed his girlfriend. And what did they fucking do? I mean, they didn't even, they covered it as a suicide case. It's like crazy. It's unacceptable.
Not picking a guy because he would outshine her. Now, there are 300,000 Jewish votes in Pennsylvania. 80% of them are Democrats. So the smart thing to do would have been to allow Shapiro to carry the weight on that. But she wasn't smart enough to do that. So now she's got to be in Pennsylvania all day tomorrow. Let's talk about this over-polling. I'm sick and tired of the polls. The one thing I do know is that Democrats are 16 times more likely to pick up a phone and get involved in polling. That's number one. Number two, 70% of America thinks that we're going in the wrong direction. All right. Number three, 65% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So it's not like everybody's like, yeah, let's keep going with the Biden administration, because she can't think of one thing she would do differently. And in the end, the Kamala camp is worried because they keep telling women, I don't know how good their polling is, it's okay if you don't tell your husband that you're voting for Kamala. And then she says to the bros, hey, bros, it's okay if you don't tell your men friends you're voting for Kamala. She's worried about that shy Kamala vote. So I think she's got a lot more to worry about. And in the end, his message is a positive one. We're going to have a golden era. He's good with the economy. It was better when he was there. And that he has done.
Kamala Harris doesn't have any policies. I wonder what people are saying at door knocking operations. And that's why everyone wants to vote for Donald Trump, because he's going to do all the good things and Kamala's doing all the bad things. Like, what are you saying? Doctrine shy Kamala vote effect on Fox News? Yes. Remember who fucking came up with that, okay? When those articles are written about in the New York Times, remember.
Done it before, and she can't even articulate it.
Jesse, I saved the Jesse for last. Can you respond to Jessica's optimism about Kamala? And also, what do you make of the polls? The shy vote on my new shirt.
I'm not a fan of the shirt.
Okay.
It's a little too urban for me. But it looks good on you, Greg.
Thank you.
You can tell you did chess this morning. Jessica keeps talking about all this door knocking. Well, it's not working because the Democrat machine in Pennsylvania has gone kaput. The early vote is way down for Democrats. Female votes down.
I think they should just only have Jesse Waters talk about Kamala Harris until every single woman that watches Fox News goes out and votes for Kamala Harris, because they just can't stand the vibes that he's putting out. Like, I'm a dude and I feel uneasy. You know what I mean? I can't even begin to imagine what women feel like when they're watching this man speak. Just
urban votes down and the rural vote is way up. So you can knock on as many doors as you want. The Republicans have sliced the early vote lead in half, and that's why they're terrified. You talk about these late breakers or going to Kamala Harris. What survey is that? I haven't seen that survey. The Democrats keep talking about this mysterious survey.
It's in Marist.
No
it's in the Univision poll.
Well, no one's seen anything like that.
I literally just told you where
because
it is.
if it's actually happening.
Oh, dude. No one's seen it, Jessica, as in I am refusing to read. I don't know how to read. What's Marist? What's the New York Times? I'll bite. What is that? Is that a newspaper? Is that a magazine? I'll bite.
It would show up in the early vote. And across the board in every single battleground, the Republicans are either winning the early vote or they've actually just destroyed the Democrats' traditional.
You're cannibalizing your election day vote, potentially.
You think it's cannibalized. Maybe. But if you look at the data, it's low propensity voters that they're turning out. And Republicans always show up on election day. So what the Democrats, Greg, are deciding to do or relying on, they are now relying on this avalanche of enthusiasm on election day that has never happened before for Democrats. Democrats never produce huge avalanches of voter turnout on election day. They have to have that with Black Americans, Hispanic Americans. If there's that type of enthusiasm, why isn't it showing up in the early vote? It's a great question because there's no enthusiasm. I have a theory here about Shapiro.
Yes.
Obama's wingman was in charge of the VP processing. You know, Obama loves Shapiro. They went with Walz instead. It's almost like they burned Walz on an L because they wanted to save Shapiro for 4 years.
Interesting theory.
Is it?
Not really. I was just being nice.
That's sweet of you.
Yeah.
It's
Shapiro
interesting.
It is
didn't really want
interesting.
the
It is
job.
interesting.
You
I'm
know.
just crushed over Ricky
Don't blame
Martin.
him.
I'm burning all my Menudo albums. Ricky Martin. All right, up next, Kamala refuses to squeal on Callie's Tough on Crime appeal.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest